This is an important case study question from the chapter Quadratic Equation of class 10th Mathematics. This is about the maximum profit made by an automobile industry. The question says automobile manufacturers can produce a maximum 300 cars per day. Profit made from the sale of these vehicles is modeled into a function, and that profit is made in form of an equation, that is Px is a negative x square plus a 350x minus 600. 6,600. Here Px represents the profit made in 1000 rupees and x in the polynomial which is in x. X represents the number of automobiles which are made or sold. With this information we have to answer 4 questions. So first let me write what equation is given to us. Polynomial in x, Px represents profit made by selling or preparing, means making, manufacturing x number of automobiles, which is a negative x square plus 350x minus 6,600. So that is the equation. With this, the first question begins. The first question says, when no cars are produced, what is the profit or loss? No cars produced means what? X, that represents the number of cars made or sold, that is a 0. So when x is 0, what is a Px, which is the profit statement, Px. So here this is a negative 0 square plus 350 times 0 minus 6,600. So here you understand the first two 0. So Px means P of 0 is a negative 6600. So when no cars are made or sold, that automobile industry runs into a loss because it is negative. P0 is negative, so it is loss. Runs into a loss of 6,600 rupees. How to understand this question? So this is a polynomial in x. So let us draw the graph of this polynomial. Here the horizontal line represents x, means the number of automobiles which are made or sold, and the y-axis represents the profit line. If this graph intersects a positive y-axis, then there is profit, and if this graph intersects negative y-axis, then there is a loss on producing certain number of, or on manufacturing or selling certain number of automobiles. So here P0 is a negative 6600. Its meaning is the graph intersects the negative y-axis. That's first point. Number 2. Observe the quadratic equation. X square is negative means what? A. X square coefficient A is less than 0. So the graph opens a downward. So the graph of this equation, once we happen to draw, it is definitely something of this form, where the graph intersects a y-axis which is below x-axis. At this point is the loss when no vehicles are manufactured or sold. So what is the coordinate of this? Coordinate is what? X comma y. X part is 0 and y part is negative 6,600. So this is the loss when no vehicles are manufactured. Then you see on x-axis there are two zeros of this graph. On x-axis, the first one, that is x comma 0, another is some x2 comma 0, some other. Okay, so there are two sets of values of x where we can get a profit value Px. That is, profit can be calculated for those particular values of x. The first value where I am writing 1, that x value, once we substitute in the polynomial, we'll get some profit. Where I am writing 2 now, that value of x, if we substitute in the polynomial, we'll get the second profit. That means when we manufacture that many number of automobiles or sell that many, we have a profit or loss, we'll know that. So there are two values of x, two zeros, for which there will be corresponding profits. Then this graph has a vertex. Graph has a vertex that corresponds to a particular point on x-axis as well as y-axis. That particular point on x-axis, let us call it as x1, and that particular point that corresponds to y-axis, let it be y1. So this is called vertex. Vertex coordinate is minus b by twice a and minus a d by 4a. So from the given quadratic equation, we can just figure out what is ABC and substitute in this vertex coordinate. In this vertex coordinate, then we will know that when X1 number of automobiles were maximum, that the maximum number of automobiles that is produced is X1. When that many number of automobiles were produced, there is a maximum profit of Y1. However, the first question answer is polynomial P at X is equal to 0 is minus 6600. The second bit of the question is, what is the break-even point? What is the meaning of break-even point? Break-even point is on zero profit. What is the value of X? That means though automobiles were made and sold, but there is no profit. So that is what I was showing through the graph, that the graph opens it downwards. That means there are two values of X. Okay. So these are the values of X for which Y is 0. And what is Y? Px, this is Y. So that means though X is there, but Y is 0. That means automobiles are made and sold, but still there is no profit. So what are those values of X that we are supposed to find? So Y is 0. So our equation, negative X square plus 350X minus 6600 is equated to 0, and multiply minus 1 throughout. Your equation turns out to be X square minus 350X plus 6600. Now this is equal to 0, means X is there but Y is 0, means no profit. Let's do the splitting middle term. This can be splitted as negative 330X and negative 20X. And on splitting the middle term and factorizing, we get X minus 330 as one of the factor and X minus 20 as another factor, equated to 0. When each of the factors are equated to 0, we get X as 330 and 20. So the 2 points where the graph intersects x-axis are X is equal to 20 and X is equal to 330. Its meaning is, when 20 vehicles are manufactured, then also there is a loss. That means there is no profit, no loss also. Okay. And when 330 vehicles are manufactured or sold, then also there is no profit. No profit doesn't mean loss, no profit. How to understand? See, in the beginning, the question they said, no, the automobile manufacturer can produce up to 300 cars per day. Less than 300 cars means a 20. So if less cars are produced, then there is no profit. 330 is greater than 300. That means more than required cars are produced. Then also there is no profit. Means more supply than need. Okay, so this is it. So when there is a break-even point, when less number of cars are manufactured, then also there is no profit. Then more than the required number, that is 300, are made or sold, then also there is no profit. That's the second bit. The third question is, what is the profit or loss if 175 cars were produced? So we should understand whether it is a profit or loss. For that, we should know what is the number of automobiles that should be produced so that there is a maximum profit. Now you see the graph. Graph is opening downwards, so vertex is above, that too in the first quadrant. So this vertex represents X comma Y. X is that number of vehicles that has to be manufactured or sold that gives a maximum profit of Y. So we should find that vertex, and we know that vertex of a parabola has the coordinates minus b by twice a comma minus a d, means a discriminant, by 4a. And you have to pick up ABC from this equation. So you can compare the given polynomial with the standard form, that is ax square plus bx plus c, and you realize that a is -1, b is 350, and c is -6600. So let's first find the number of automobiles which were manufactured or sold, that is minus b by twice a. So this turns out to be -350 by twice of -1, that is 175. Its meaning is 175 vehicles when max produced or sold, that only will give us maximum profit. That means 176th automobile when it is produced, there is a loss. That is not loss, profit reduces, because loss will be when that coordinate comes in below x-axis. So profit is when 175 automobiles were made or sold. 174 is also not a maximum profit. 176 vehicles also not a maximum profit. So maximum profit occurs when 175 vehicles are manufactured or sold. Now let's calculate y coordinate of the vertex. That is a negative b square minus 4ac, means a negative d by 4a by twice a. Sorry, 4a by 4a. So once we substitute all the values, we get here negative of 350 square minus 4 times negative 1 times negative 6600. So discriminant on calculation gives us 96100. Of course, it is a perfect square divided by 4 times negative 1. So when we divide, we get the number 24,025, and this is the maximum profit that the automobile industry can get. So the vertex coordinates are 175, 24,025. That means 175 vehicles manufactured, that gives a maximum profit of 24,025. Okay, so that is the third bit. Now the last question of this case study, what is the profit if 400 cars were produced? Very simple. See, we have seen the graph, how the graph went. The graph went like this. And then we saw that the vertex is at 175. That means 175 cars were produced, then only there is a maximum profit. Y-axis represents profit, x-axis represents the number of automobiles which were manufactured or sold. So here the question is, what is the profit when 400 cars were sold? 400 cars when sold, that will not generate a profit. Okay, so first that is very clear. Now how to answer this question? So here 400 cars were produced or sold. So here x is 400. So in this expression, wherever you see x, there you substitute 400 and check what happens. Negative 400 square plus 350 times 400, negative 6,600. On solving, this gives us a negative 26,600. See, the profit came negative. That means that the graph, see, already the graph is intersecting negative x-axis. So this was a negative 6600. So that means when say 175 was this, right? This is 175 and this was 330, I remember. That means here somewhere 400 will be. So 400 and the negative 26600. So that is the coordinate. That is the coordinate. That means here this graph goes like this. So this is the point. That means when 400 vehicles were manufactured, so the graph goes like this. Right. So 400 corresponds to this point, this. So when 400 vehicles were produced or manufactured, 26,600. That much is the profit earned, but the profit is not profit, it is a loss. Why? Because that coordinate is below x-axis, so that is a loss. So this is a very important quadratic equation chapters case study. So all the best.